Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Crystal Palace make Mark Guehi decision amid Liverpool transfer interest. The latest Liverpool transfer news as Crystal Palace make a bold decision regarding Mark Guehi in their Premier League opener versus Chelsea. Liverpool target Mark Guehi has been named in the starting 11 for Crystal Palace to take on Chelsea. The decision from head coach Oliver Glasner comes amid uncertainty around the Palace captain's future, with the Reds looking to acquire his services. The England international has less than 12 months remaining on his contract at Selhurst Park, leaving the Eagles in a perilous position where they could lose their captain on a free transfer next summer. The 25-year-old maintained his place in the starting 11 after Palace beat Liverpool in the Community Shield 7 days ago. Guehi was forced off in the second half and in turn missed the penalty shootout victory after appearing to pick up an injury issue. However, he recovered from the problem to be included in the starting 11 for their London derby at Stamford Bridge on Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Giovanni Leone, 18, became the latest new face through the door at Anfield for the Premier League champions, after the Reds struck a £26 million deal with Parma. The move for Leone forms part of Liverpool's search for a new younger central defender in the last 2 summers, and the Echo reported this week that talks are ongoing for Palace captain Guehi, with the proposed move seen as independent of the long-term search for young Italian. Palace chairman Steve Parish admitted that he may be forced to sell Guehi this summer to avoid losing him on a free transfer next year. "We'd have to do that, of course," said Parish after their Community Shield win at Wembley. "For players of that caliber to leave on a free, it's a problem for us, unfortunately. Joachim Andersen went to Fulham last summer, and we couldn't afford to lose both. We then had another bid for Guehi in January, but that was a different situation. We'll just have to see what happens. But, it needs a new contract or a conclusion of some kind." Oliver Glasner expects Ebereki Eze to remain a Crystal Palace player for the club's first ever European fixture. Eze is widely expected to join Tottenham this summer, with the clubs in talks over a deal to take the England international to North London. The midfielder was due to sit out Sunday's 0-0 draw at Chelsea, only to start, and then see a goal disallowed, after talks with Spurs failed to progress as expected. Glasner now believes Eze will remain at the club until at least the club's Conference League playoff first leg against Fredrikstad on Thursday. EB should have scored a goal today. He had one and it was disallowed, Glasner told Sky Sports. He will come tomorrow to the Crystal Palace training ground. Tuesday off, we take Wednesday and I expect him to be back playing for us against Fredrikstad. Alexander Isak's defiant reply to Man United manager tells Liverpool all they need to know. Alexander Isak has been pushing for a move to Liverpool this summer, but Newcastle are standing firm by demanding a British record fee of £150 million for their star striker. To his benefit or detriment, Alexander Isak has demonstrated he's not one to shy away from confrontation, as evidenced by his bold retort to former Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag. Liverpool are well aware of his goal-scoring exploits, but his defiant mentality can be just as valuable an asset. The Newcastle forward has been in the firing line as speculation intensifies over a blockbuster move to Anfield. Yet, he's proved he can answer criticism head-on. A clear example of this came after Ten Hag accused Newcastle of time-wasting in the 2023 Carabao Cup final. "We know they delay," the Dutchman argued. "It's something referees don't want." Isak responded a few weeks later after Newcastle beat United 2-0 in the league. "I don't really agree," he insisted. "We worked with intensity, and we were the team that wanted to win, the team bringing the game forward." He went further, pointing the finger back at United. "They wasted more time than us. I don't put too much focus on that. I think we put in a great performance." The remark underlines Isak's fiery streak and refusal to be walked over, traits reflected in his determination to force a move to Liverpool this summer. The Reds are eager to add the 25-year-old to an attacking unit already featuring Mohamed Salah, Hugo Ekitike, and Florian Wirtz. Liverpool have already broken the British transfer record once this summer for Wirtz, who joined in a deal totaling £116 million, and will likely have to do so again if they're to land Isak. Newcastle, however, are demanding £150 million, a figure the Anfield hierarchy are keen to drive down. The tug-of-war looks set to come to a head in the coming fortnight. Newcastle could be forced to lower the price amid reports Isak could refuse to play unless his wishes are granted. Conversely, Liverpool may feel less pressure to push the deal through, especially given Ekitike's blistering start to life on Merseyside. The £69 million French signing already has goals in the Community Shield and in the win over Bournemouth, and looks more than capable of leading the line on his own. For now, the saga remains unresolved. Isak has resorted to drastic measures to force the issue, skipping Newcastle's pre-season trip to Asia and sitting out their opening day draw with Aston Villa, where Anthony Gordon was forced to play as a makeshift striker. Despite dominating possession and seeing Villa go down to 10 men, the Magpies failed to find a goal. They dominated possession and registered 16 shots, but just 3 were on target, a stat that underlined just how much they missed Isak's cutting edge. To make matters worse, sections of the away support branded Isak greedy, and even saying, "We don't care about Isak, he don't care about me. All we care about is NUFC." Manager Eddie Howe chose not to criticize the chant, only saying, "Whatever happens, I think the supporters acted really well today because they supported the team. Not everything has been plain sailing, but they've always been with the team. And then if afterwards they want to say something, I think they're very free to do that." Liverpool transfer signs promising amid Alexander Isak Newcastle waiting game. It wouldn't have taken long for it to have dawned on Hugo Ekitike the size of the club he has joined in Liverpool. The £79 million signing from Eintracht Frankfurt was barely 12 hours removed from being confirmed as a Reds player when he was paraded in front of 25,000 supporters last month. The fact that such a turnout for an open training session came in Hong Kong's Kai Tak Stadium, some 6,000 miles away from his new home on Merseyside, will have been quite the eye-opener for the France under-21 international. Ekitike flew into Hong Kong fresh from completing his medical for Liverpool in late July and was introduced to his new teammates on the pitch of the Kai Tak after they had finished their session in front of supporters on the eve of their pre-season friendly with AC Milan. Rather than be inhibited by the size and scale of his new employers, however, Ekitike has so far taken it all in his stride, with 2 expertly taken goals against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield last week and Bournemouth in the Premier League on Friday night. It's understood the Reds initially made advances over Ekitike in January as Arne Slot and sporting director Richard Hughes began to gently plan how their forward line might look for the campaign ahead. The Reds head coach spoke to the Frenchman at the end of last season and sold him the vision for how he would fit in when leading the Liverpool line. There was a belief that Newcastle United's interest in Ekitike, which emerged at the beginning of the summer months, would embolden Frankfurt into something resembling an auction. The German side have offloaded the likes of Nikola Jovic, £52 million, Real Madrid, Randall Kolo Muani, £74 million, Paris Saint-Germain, and Omar Marmish, £59 million, Manchester City, for big fees in recent years and saw the situation around Ekitike as being no different. The Magpies saw an opening bid of £70 million rejected before Liverpool swooped quickly last month, having already been armed with all the data, scouting reports and character references needed to pursue the deal. The Reds' willingness to be proactive earlier in the calendar year allowed them to gain the necessary information to proceed when it was agreed that Ekitike was the right player for the next stage of their evolution up front. Their decisive action also allowed them to fend off late interest from Manchester United, who used Director of Recruitment Christopher Vivel to sound out Frankfurt's sporting director Marcos Krosch. As a result, United and Newcastle were forced to do battle for Benjamin Sesko at RB Leipzig, with the former eventually coming out on top by sealing a £74 million deal for the Slovenia striker. Of course, with the data-driven model at Anfield, the raw numbers and underlying metrics have had a big say in Liverpool's decision to bring in Ekitike, whose £79 million arrival, inclusive of add-ons, sees him become the 3rd most expensive player of all time on Merseyside behind £85 million Darwin Núñez and £116 million Florian Wirtz. "No, I didn't know much at all about him," admits Virgil van Dijk of his new colleague. "I'm glad he scored his second in 2 games. He was also quite tired when he came off. That's also the demand of the Premier League, so he has to keep working to try to stay important. I'm glad he has got off the park in the Premier League and hopefully there is more to come." I think he settled pretty great in the team in general. We all know the life of a striker. You can score and everything is rainbows and sunshine. And you don't, and it's a different world. He just has to keep his head down, scoring and making assists, and be impressive in defending and attacking, and see what the season brings for him. Despite starting the season with aplomb as a traditional number 9, Ekitike's power and poise can also be utilized in wider positions, according to some at Liverpool, which could yet be an interesting tactical tweak given the ongoing messaging around Alexander Isak at Newcastle. Hugo had an outstanding season with Reims, Thierry Henry recalls. He came out of nowhere, he's a local boy, and he took the league by storm. Then he went to Paris Saint-Germain, and that was the year of Lionel Messi, Neymar, and Kylian Mbappe. You're not going to start a lot, so he struggled. He went to Germany, and we saw what he did last year. That duo with Marmish was lethal. They were both unplayable. When Marmish left, Ekitike struggled a bit, but then he went back to scoring goals. I'm not surprised to see what he has done, and I'm very happy for him to be back on track, because it's not always easy to get back up when you receive that first slap. He answered the call. I remember we were looking at him for France under 21s, but he wasn't playing much at the time, so it was difficult to take him. Now he's playing for Liverpool, he has already scored, and what's good with him is that he has both. He's a very good finisher in the box and can also play on the counter because he's fast. That gives you a lot of options when you're a coach. Arne Slot will figure out what he wants to do with him, but for me he's a 9. Liverpool already have exactly what they need on the wing. They were waiting to get that guy, they paid a lot to get him. He's a 9. Can he play on the left or right? Yes, he's versatile because he has speed. But this is what I'm saying, you were never going to ask Alan Shearer to play on the left or right? So yes, he's a 9. Liverpool remain coiled to act if given encouragement from Newcastle that they are willing to talk over a potential British record deal for Isak. For now, though, a waiting game persists as Eddie Howe and his recruitment team look for a potential replacement after losing out on Ekitike, Sesko, and, earlier in the window, Liam Delap and João Pedro. 15 goals in the Bundesliga is a figure Anfield's key decision-makers feel can be improved upon considerably by Ekitike for the years ahead, and the early signs are promising. Thanks for watching. Like and comment and subscribe.